Hi, everybody, and welcome to our week number 8 Twitch live stream for my research methods class. I see a bunch of you getting logged in and joining me on here. I hope you're all enjoying this beautiful rainy day that we have going on right now. I love the rain so much, though it's not always fun to like be out and about in it. So I hope that you're somewhere where you can enjoy it today. We're in week 8. I can't even believe it. It is March, and I'm sorry that I had to cancel our live stream last week. You could probably still hear it in my voice a little bit, but I was fighting a bit of a cold and I'm still kind of fighting it a little bit, but definitely feeling better. So we'll kick back into our normal routine today, and I'm glad to have you all with me. I want to give you a little bit of feedback about last week, and then we'll talk about this week and exam number 2, and hopefully make sure that you feel as good as you can about it. So let's go ahead and jump over to Canvas together. And again, if we scroll down, we're right here, week 8. We're at the just about the halfway point. Once we finish this week, it will be halfway through the class. We have about 17 weeks altogether. So a couple of quick comments about last week, and then we'll move on. And again, I feel like we're kind of getting more into that core content of this class. So I hope that you're still feeling good about everything. I'm seeing a lot of great things on my end, so that's always wonderful to see. But as far as discussion number 7 goes, just a couple of little bits of feedback here. This one was all about that little ice cream test, and then also how you could operationalize coffee intake. I thought most of you did a beautiful job on number 1. Really great job talking about how you could have somebody report how many cups of coffee and kind of keep track of how they would how many they've had, and right in looking at the 3 different types. And I thought a lot of you did a really beautiful job there. I enjoyed all of your ice cream results that you got. I love that some of you copied and pasted the actual results from the test. I thought that was fun. Obviously, most of you, kind of nailed these last 2, 3, and 4. A lot of you talked about the quiz could potentially be reliable, but definitely not valid. And the biggest reason that people lost points was I wanted a little bit more. Like some of you said, no, it's not valid. Ice cream doesn't translate to personality. And you were completely correct. But how could we go a little bit farther to look at things like criterion validity and that kind of information? So I wanted you to be talking about how we could potentially use maybe other tests to piggyback off of the ice cream one. How could we try and maybe make it a little bit more valid, because it clearly isn't? Or some of you kind of, I would have liked you to mention we could always do test retest reliability, like have somebody take the test and then take it again in a month or a year and compare the results. So again, most of you doing a really good job, but I would like just a little bit more. So if you find that you're losing a point or two on each discussion, and I'm giving you feedback give me a little more, or a great start, I wanted a little bit more, try and elaborate just a little bit more, and then you'll be closer to those full points, hopefully. So again, really nice job, and don't forget to continue replying to a classmate to get those 2 points of credit. I'm sorry that we didn't have an extra credit question last week since we didn't have a stream, but we're picking back up this week, so hopefully we get, like I said, get back on track. This week we move on to chapter 7. And in chapter 7, we're going to be looking at the idea of sampling. And so we'll talk a little bit about what is generalizability, what is a sample, when is a sample biased, how can we avoid biased samples? What is a representative sample? All that kind of stuff. Is bigger better always? So we're looking at the idea of samples and populations, external validity, all that kind of stuff. On the Beyond the Book page, I have a little bit here about random sampling and some description, a little bit about non-probability sampling, which is maybe a little less commonly used, but still important to understand. And then finally on the last page, all of the key terms that you need to know for the exam, which we do have this week. So make sure, as always, that you're doing 3 things with every chapter, right? So with chapter 7, make sure you read the chapter in the textbook, that you watch the lecture video and pay attention to that lecture, take notes potentially. And then number 3, that you're also going through the lecture. So reading the lecture and the lecture video. Once you've done all of that, discussion number 8 is looking at these topics. So let's take a look at that together. I almost have a cat coming close. Let's see. I'm always trying to gather my cats. Oh, He knew. It's like he knew I was gonna pick him up, right? It was my little cat Noodle. I almost had him. Sorry. I always think that's the best part about being at home is trying to wrangle the cats into the streams. Anyway, so as always, you have my instructions up here at the top. So make sure to watch the little video. Be sure to elaborate and all that usual kind of stuff. Don't forget that peer response. That's worth 2 points. Some of you are kind of missing that, so don't forget to do that. It's a very easy 2 points to get. But this one, you're going to imagine that you're planning to estimate the price of the average book at our college bookstore. If the bookstore carries 13,000 titles, you plan to sample only 200 of them. You're going to select a sample of 200 books, record the price of each book, and the average of the 200 books to estimate the average price of those 13,000 titles at the bookstore. Assuming the bookstore can give you access to a database that lists all 13,000 titles it carries. Based on this information, I want you to answer the following related to sampling and probability and all those things. So number one, what is the sample in this study and what is the population of interest? Make sure you describe. Number two, how might you collect a simple random sample of the books at the bookstore? Number three, choose one of the following options and discuss how you would collect that type of sample. You can pick whichever one you want, a systematic random sample, cluster sample, multi-stage sample, or quota sample. So whichever one seems clearest to you, you can pick that one and go with it. How would you collect that type of sample if you were to do so? And then finally, discuss one possible way that you could end up with a biased sample when conducting this study. Hint, be sure to discuss how the sample would be gathered, the type of bias that would occur. I want you to go into detail. Show me that you understand how we could end up with a bias and what type of bias it would be. So don't forget to really elaborate, answer all of those fully. Don't forget to also respond to a classmate. As always, it's worth 15 points, 13 for your responses to my question, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. That is the big kind of typical thing this week. The big thing though that we have is we do have exam number 2 this week. And so I want to spend a few minutes talking about that. Before I go to the exam, are there any questions at all about the discussion or anything so far before we talk about test number 2? I'm going to wait just a second because you're usually maybe about a minute, 30 seconds or so behind me, and I want to make sure. Okay. If you think of something, obviously feel free to put it in the chat. Even if you think of it later, that's totally fine. Exam number 2, if you click on it, is due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. like everything else from week number 8. It's worth 50 points, 48 questions, and you have an hour. Okay, so 48 questions in an hour. You have a little more than a minute per question. So make sure that you're mindful of the time. Watch the clock as you're going along. And obviously, if you don't know the answer to something, feel free to skip it and come back to it. You only get one attempt, so make sure that you're ready and organized before you begin. I know I said this last time, but a couple things to keep in mind. When I say ready and organized, make sure that you have 60 minutes. Okay, make sure that you have 60 minutes to spare, that you have a quiet place to take the exam where you're not going to be interrupted, that you have good internet. Obviously with the rain today, like the internet's always questionable when it rains or it's windy. So just be mindful of the weather. Don't wait till Sunday night. Don't wait till the last minute to take it. Inevitably, you're going to run into a problem. And then make sure you're ready, right? Make sure that you've studied, that you understand everything on the study guide. So on the page before, and I'll show you in a minute, you do have a study guide for this exam. Everything on there will be on the test. If it's not on there, you don't need to worry about it. So if it were me, and I'm that like meticulous straight A student, I would have it all written out or typed out in front of me. That way, if I get to a question and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember sample versus population, I'm not flipping through the notes and the book and the PowerPoints trying to find it. It's right there in my study guide that I've completed. So I would really recommend that. A lot of you did beautifully on the first exam. This one's a little harder. We've gotten into a little bit more core materials. So just make sure that you're ready and that you're prepared. Make sure that you watch that clock. Again, you have an hour, and when your time is up, Canvas will stop you. So when you're ready, you'll hit take the quiz. Good luck. I hope you all do really well on it. Last time, so many A's, and that made me so happy to see. I hope that's the case again this time. Remember that the study guide's right here underneath it. If you click on that, you can see that this one is on Chapter 3, Part 1 and Part 2. So all of Chapter 3, Chapter 5, and then Chapter 7 from this week. So the exams aren't cumulative, but everything does kind of build on what comes before it in this class. So, just really make sure that you have a good foundation as we move forward. And if you find that you're a little confused or it's too much, maybe try breaking it up as we go along and study 1 week at a time. Otherwise, those are the big things for this week. Discussion 8, exam number 2, obviously reading the chapter and watching the lecture video and all that kind of stuff. I will post the recording of this in a little bit after it's like uploaded and downloaded and all that fun stuff. Let me give you some reminders and then the extra credit question. So, Sophia, I just saw that you resubscribed. Thank you for figuring that out. Please take a moment to double check your status. There are very, very few of you that are subscribed, and so it takes me a long time to go through your names and find you on Twitch. If you're able to subscribe, remember you can do it for free if you follow the instructions. And also remember that it expires every month, so you got to renew it for free. That's the one downside of it being free, is that you have to renew it every 30 days. The other reminder I have for you, if you're looking ahead, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, March 12th at 1 o'clock p.m. Okay, so I put that here in the chat. We will have a live stream next Wednesday, as usual, at 1 o'clock, unless, of course, something comes up, which I will let you know, but I'm not planning on it. And I'll go over some statistics from the exam. We'll talk about the next week and some feedback from this week, and we'll go from there. So let me give you the extra credit question. I wrote this out earlier to save myself the time, so I'm going to copy and paste it into the chat. This is the week number 8 Twitch extra credit question. What is random sampling? Describe and define. What is random sampling? Define and describe. You could give me an example if that helps, or just define it and describe it, but really connected to the materials for this week. When you're ready to answer that, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 8, since we're in week 8. And then up here, click start assignment. And that's where it'll bring up that box where you can type. Oops. Hopefully you spell it right. Type your response, and then when you're ready, hit submit. And it gives you that confetti burst and stars with little smiley faces. Very sweet. Again, I'm glad so many of you are taking advantage of these opportunities. It's a lot of points in the end if you're doing them every week, which would very much so help with like a few points off a discussion or maybe an exam or something that you missed. So definitely continue to take advantage of it. I think that is everything I wanted to go over with you today, kind of short and sweet. We're usually at about like 15-20 minutes. If any of you have any questions about the study guide, the exam, anything from this week or last week, I will hang out a little bit, and you're welcome to put it in the chat. Okay, otherwise, I hope you all enjoy this beautiful weather. It's so nice if you can stay home in it, of course. Drive safely if you're out there on the roads, and I will hope to see you all next week on Wednesday. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to minimize my video, but I will hang out for a few minutes if you have any questions that you think of. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of the day and a wonderful week, and I'll hopefully see you all next week. And I am still here. Like I said, thank you. Thank you as well. If you think of any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Sure. She said, I have a question about discussion 7. Can you elaborate? So if you can do me a favor, send me an email. That way I'm not bringing up your grade and discussion in front of everyone on here. If you want to send me an email, I can give you a little bit more feedback about where I was looking for a little bit more. I'd be happy to do that. So just send me a quick email and I will reply and let you know. Of course. Just that way I don't, bring up your grades and score in front of everyone. I'm sure you would rather me not. So thank you. Yeah, I'll get back to you very quickly if you can send that to me. And I am still here if anyone thinks of anything. you say, is it possible to go over homework number 2? Yeah, if you go back, or did we not go over it? You struggled with the doctor's question. So what was your question specifically? Can you give me a little more, and then we can go back and look at that really quickly. I'll bring up homework 2 while I'm waiting for you. Just if you could let me know a little bit more what you were confused about. You got the validities wrong. Oh, okay. Sure. So if you're looking at them, let me bring. Oh, you think you joined the wrong class earlier? Oops, that's okay. It happens, right? So let me bring up on my end, and then we can go over that real quick, and I can help so you understand. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Homework. I'm just bringing up the homework on my end. Homework number 2. Okay. So let me share my screen so you can see it. Okay, so Grace, right? So if you look at it, so these were the 3, right? And so what you see here is Dr. Lopez was external validity, Dr. Shaw internal validity, and Dr. Jefferson construct validity. So Lopez is talking about the sample. And anytime you're talking about like sampling and does it extend to everyone else, does it generalize to everyone else, that would be external validity that you're looking at. Dr. Shaw is asking questions like, what kind of like study do we do? Was it an experiment or a correlation? Are there other things that could explain it? Are there variables that might be present? So that would be internal validity. And then Jefferson's talking about like, oh, well, this could mean a lot of different things. How did we operationalize it? Which is looking at the construct, like a construct validity. So those would be the 3 different types. So it would be external, internal, and then construct validity. Okay. I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, let me know. But hopefully that clears those 3 up a little bit. There's only one extra credit question this week. Are you in the research methods class? Right. So yeah, we just have the one for this week, which is week 8. If I go back here and pull this up just to make sure. So week 8, right? So this one is due by March 9th. And then next week's not even open yet, actually. So it looks like the date on that one's wrong. I haven't set up week 9 yet because it's not open. So you shouldn't be able to access it yet. We just have the one for this week, week number 8, and then obviously next week, then the following one will open up. So if you can see it on your end, it's not. I haven't set up week 9 yet, so don't worry about that. It's just the one for this week. Sure, you could always check it. It might have been that you got the levels. A lot of people messed up on the different levels of the independent variable. But yeah, if you want to send me an email, I'd be happy to let you know specifically. Again, I don't want to pull up your thing on the screen so everyone can see. But yeah, if you want to email me, I can write you back about what you missed specifically. Perfect. Have a good week. You too. You too.